$30 silver by the end of 2024. Okay, hold up. This is not my prediction. Let me share this one with you from somebody else, an expert in the field. And let's get you guys an update on precious metals. If you appreciate what we do, you know what to do. You know where to find us. It's all at zachrector.com. Let's take a look at the charts, and then we'll go into fundamental economic data that feeds into a thesis that aligns with me seeing silver going to $30 sooner rather than later. By the end of 2024 would be great, but let's take a look at it, folks. Right now, we're looking at the gold chart here to start. And as you can see, I've zoomed out here on the weekly to give us a little bit better perspective. What we're looking at here is zoomed out to 2020, when Powell's Pandora's box truly opened up. And remember that gold went all the way down. Where did it go all the way down to? That's incredible. 1450 during the March 2020 crash. Please note that too when we're looking at these charts, and where I've been explaining my perspective that we're looking for a similar March 2020 correction potentially in the offing here. And I've been warning about that in regards to our analysis on cryptocurrency, the broader equities markets, and you can see what gold did during that moment, right? It crashed with everything else, but then it just went ballistic up to 2074. Now, in the last few years here, you've seen we triple tapped this level, and we were wondering when we were going to break out, right? Well, we finally got that breakout. That was at the beginning of December, and that is where gold went up to 2,150 essentially. Now, continuing to watch it, it has been holding the 2,000 support really well. It broke below here for a couple days, below 2,000. But it has quickly been bought back up, and at the time of this recording, we're at 2009 for gold, holding support really well. But remember, gold still needs to catch up based off of all the money printing that we had in 2020. Our markets, not just gold, but the equities, crypto, we're figuring out where all the money needs to go. The trillions upon trillions of dollars that were printed, we're still feeling the effects of that, okay? And obviously, they've piled it into equities, i.e. all-time highs for NVIDIA, for all of your S&P 500, the major indexes, NASDAQ, and the Dow. And many people overlooking this whole sector of precious metals. I think it's a mistake. I think that we're about to see a historical correction from equities back to commodities. Now, looking at our next favorite, silver, you can see that silver did go all the way down to about 11. You got to be kidding me. You know, I look back at this and it makes me laugh. You were looking at 10-cent XRP in March. You were looking at $11 silver. You were looking at $1,400 gold. I mean, you could have bought anything, and you would have done so well because these real assets just exploded after that. Now, as I titled this video, $30 by the end of 2024, you can see that we already went there, right? We went there in August of 2020, and we went there in February of 21. We've been chopping sideways in this range, right between about $27, and we did go back test in August of 2022. We did go back test $17. Lasted down in that area, sub $20 for a few months. But then you can see we've been holding $20 very well. We did get a back test of $20 back in October of last year. Holding pretty strong. But what would silver do if we do get that type of market correction that I'm talking about? It doesn't have to be as big of a drop as March 2020, but that might bring us back down to sub 20 for a moment in time. Are you going to be ready to take advantage of that? Let's get into the data though. Today we get the January PPI inflation. This is the producer price inflation. Producer price index hits 0.9%, above expectations of 0.6. Core PPI inflation jumped to 2%, above expectations of 1.6. Both CPI and PPI inflation have come in above expectations in January. Disinflation seems to be slowing. Can the Fed really pivot here? I make the case, the argument that they can't if they want to actually fight inflation. And the problem is that if you look at some of these data points, they're not even close to coming down to reasonable levels. Shelter inflation in the United States remains a major issue as it stands at 6%. Inflation for renters was 6.1% in January, while inflation for homeowners was 6%. In January, the median national rent price remained near its peak at $1,950 per month. I know, I mean, you guys probably in the comments can let me know. How crazy is it that we have an average rent payment of $1,950? Now, the reason why I wanted to include these data points before we go into gold and silver talk is to show you guys, and when you look back at how well gold and silver have held their value when it comes time to go buy real assets, right? The average house, right? How many ounces of gold does it take you to buy, right? You still have purchasing power. Meanwhile, with your dollars, with your fiat currency, it is getting stripped, and you're at almost $2,000 now for an average rent price in the United States. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think about that deal. Now, the median payment for home buyers is now $2,850. So it is on average in about 90% of cities in America, it is way cheaper to rent than it is to buy. All part of the transfer of wealth where we own nothing. We're going to be happy little renters in our little 15-minute city riding our bikes. We will own no precious metals. We will only own CBDC that we'll receive through our UBI check. And we wake up, we grab our coffee, if it's still legal to drink coffee during those times. Maybe they'll ban coffee. And we go tap into our virtual reality. Happily ever after. Now, to show you guys just how big of a problem that we're facing right now and why I don't think that the banking crisis is over, there's a bunch of toxic debt and negative equity, not just in real estate, unrealized losses on the bonds that these banks have. But when we look here at this data point, commercial property loans coming due in US jumped to $929 billion. $1 trillion, or about 20% of all outstanding commercial loans, need to get refinanced this year. This is why the real estate industry is begging Powell to cut those rates, right? Now, let's continue on, folks. Where do we find opportunity? For me right now, I am stacking the metals. Absolutely. Got my 10 ounces, got my buffalo head. You already know the deal. We stack it up as much as we can. That's on the conservative side of my portfolio, and I'm a young 29-year-old speculator. And so I have that on my savings. I save precious metals. I put cash on the sidelines to stay liquid for what? Opportunities like I'm about to show you. I'm looking at private equity, private placements in the commodity space and in the fintech space. This is where I find balance in my portfolio. Not telling you what to do. I'm just telling you how I view my portfolio. Just like I have precious metals on the conservative side, then I invest in XRP on the more risky, risk on side, right? Well, similar to that, when I go to invest in private placements, I'm investing in the old world. And I'm looking at private placements. I'm looking at deals in the commodity sector. And then I'm investing in the new world too. I'd be looking at equity like a company like Ripple, right? Buying their shares before they go public and riding that wave up. The other thing that I've mentioned is obviously real estate. Just highlighted how there's $1 trillion worth of commercial real estate that has to get reset. That's an opportunity. And it's trickling down to the residential side as well. But what we're looking at right here, this is from Tavi Costa, talking about gold miners are so undervalued that even their dividend yields are now at one of the highest levels in history. While there may be more opportunistic ways to deploy capital in such a distressed environment, this reminds me of the energy sector in 2020 before having 2 years of exceptional performance. Even precious metals experts are throwing in the towel recently. Now is not the time to lose sight. This could be one of the greatest opportunities I've seen in my career. Now, look at this chart here, folks. This is the dividend yield from Newmont Corp, okay? And it's all the way up, pushing up to 5% dividend. So I am a fan of dividend stocks, and the reason why I'm looking at equity and commodity companies is because these commodity companies also, what are they pulling out of the ground, right? Gold, silver, copper, uranium, all these other things. They're pulling out suppressed commodities. So not only are you going to see appreciation in the commodities themselves, these companies are already turning a profit at today's prices. But when the price of the commodity goes up, their profit's going up, right? And so you get the best of both worlds, two birds, one stone. Now, let's get into it. So the title of this video was $30 silver by the end of 2024. I showed you guys on the chart how we were there in 2020. We were there in 21. I want to see it break out. And I'm going to show you this clip here. This is from the CEO of First Majestic, Keith Neumeyer. And he notes the fact, this is very important, we most likely won't see silver really rip until gold can hold that new all-time high and we're talking 2200, 2300. When gold really starts to go and stay up at that new all-time high, then we see silver catch up in that kind of environment. And so listen in on this clip right here. This is the CEO of First Majestic, Keith Neumeyer.
Bullish on silver. And I just can't for the life of me think that when you have a deficit as big as we're going to be seeing this year, that prices won't move. And with gold also improving, as you said earlier about interest rates changing, and that could impact gold prices, which I agree it will. It's got to drive silver up. So, I'll give you a $30 target on silver for the end of 2024.
Okay, well, let's hope so. Keith, best of luck with your exploration plans.
And that was kind of the consensus in Vancouver at the Vancouver Resource Investment Conference last month. Obviously, I had a pleasure up there of going around talking to, First Majestic and other companies, some of the CEOs of these, companies that are getting it out of the ground and getting it done. And the silver forecast presentation up there, the consensus up there is about $30 silver soon. If not this year, next year. We're heading into the next phase of this cycle, which takes gold to sustaining a new all-time high, and it takes silver above $30, which is going to be, in and of itself, right there's an interesting opportunity. But to me, this is the beginning, the early innings of a commodity super cycle. The inflation that is not going away, as we've highlighted at the beginning of this episode, and it's most likely to accelerate, is only going to add more fuel to this fire. And I'll be sitting by nice and cozy, and we're going to enjoy those gains. And as I've always said with my precious metals, it's to preserve my wealth, right? The gains are going to be good. That's exciting. But where I'm really looking to get gains is through my business, through my investments in private equity, through my investments in cryptocurrency. The gains and the wealth that's being preserved in the precious metals is really why I've made that allocation. But nonetheless, you guys let me know down below in the comments what you guys think about $30 silver by the end of the year. Are we about to see gold shoot up to a new all-time high again? Let me know in the comments down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Everything can be found at my website. I'll see you guys. God bless. I am your host, Zach Rector. I really appreciate all of the love and support. If you want to support the channel, just remember that you can start by smashing that thumbs up for me, sharing this content far and wide, and everything else is at my website.